What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to Realty Report with Craig and Friends. Tonight's always a special night as we bring in our signature part of the show, which is always our Friday night. And the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour. I'm going to hold off on all the Ric Flair stuff. But not only was his father the lawmaker, the lawbreaker. Without further ado, before I get into the chat and welcome everybody in, I think it would only be fair to bring in limousine riding, high flying, profiling, always styling, and never denying Mr. Jimmy Dimodica. Jimmy, what's happening, my brother?
Hello, my brother. How are you? How's everybody? How's the kids? How's Catherine?
Everybody's good, thank you. Everybody's well.
I changed that mistake very quickly.
Yeah, I would have got on mine. Yeah, no, thank you, brother. Good looking out. Everybody's well.
I don't want no rolling pin on your head.
No, we don't need no dust up. That's for sure. But everybody's well. Jim, if you don't mind, they're all here. I just want to give a special shout out. Baywatcher, Terry, Nick, what's happening? Roy, amazing. By the way, Roy, I let Jimmy hear that message. Very sincere, heartfelt. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. Yes.
Donald Casey, thank you for coming back. I'm glad we're all on the same page. That's awesome. Baywatcher, what's happening? Barbara, how are you, dear? Baywatcher, my man. I just want to get Matty Boy, what's happening? Just want to make sure we get everybody. And we're ready to roll. Before we do that, I just want Sally Boy, what's happening? It's good to see everybody. Before we rock and roll tonight, Jim.
Yes.
Anything on your mind, buddy? Is there anything you want to get off your mind before we get into tonight's festivities?
Not necessarily. It's just that I always hope that the viewers understand that what I've been and the life that I've led. I don't tell no fairy tales. I don't tell no untruths. This is exactly what things that have happened with me. I've been fortunate, whereas because my dad was very powerful, as we know, but the thing was that only made the door unlocked. To open the door and to swing it open, I had to have merits on my own. I just want people to know that. In other words, you don't just run a labor union by being an associate and just being a buddy. You have to be a trusted comrade. And I was there. And and as far as making the money, that's needless to. Don't even have to mention that. That was hands down, bold letters, underlined, in quotations. I made the money too. And as far as any rough stuff, I'll trade with the best of them. Anybody wants to challenge me, you're going to lose. Or maybe you think you got friends you want to put against me with my friends any day of the week, pal, because I don't lay down for no other crew. So that's how I was raised. So that's just some of the things I just say just to clear the air in case sometimes you get a negative comment where people don't even know what the heck they're talking about, but it gives them power. Just type a few words. So be it. So let the games begin, right, Craig?
Let the games begin. That's what they used to say. Let the games begin, and the games will begin. And the games will begin. Folks, tonight we're gonna do something. Jimmy's gonna. I'm gonna try to prod some good stuff from him. And then maybe at the end we'll have time for some question and answers. We'll do a little Q&A towards the end. But before we get to that, I want to see if I could prod some stories from him, some events in his life. I see some of the questions. If there's any questions you have, now's the time to maybe get them up, or you could wait to the end and as we get rolling. But without further ado, let's jump right into it. And I got something on the top of my mind. It's been on my mind. And basically, I wanted to, while I thought of it, I wanted to frame it the right way. But you know what? There's really no way to frame it. So here it is. Jim, throughout, um, your time in the life, and you spent a lot of years in the life, and around the life, um, were there
Yes.
times, were there times where you dealt with not only the boss of maybe your family, did you deal with other bosses of other families? Were there ever times where you dealt directly with bosses of other families, whether it be New Jersey, New York, any side of the bridge?
Well, dealt with and being in the company with, there's two different things, but I was lucky to be both because don't forget, when I ran the labor union, you had to have an open door policy. In other words, you can make an earn with another crew, but it always has to be a joint venture. And when you do that, you don't just hang around with just a wannabe guy. It has to be the guy. But I'm going to go back to 1978 when I was young. I'm like 21 years old. That's just about it. And there was a place on 20th Avenue. Yeah, 20th Avenue in Brooklyn, I think it was. It was called Cafe Napoli. And who was there was Frank Thierry. Frank Thierry was what they called Funzy, or Funzuolo, they called him. At that time, he was on the cover of New York magazine as the boss of all bosses, Frank Thierry, right? And he spoke in broken English, and he had a mistress. Her name was Rita Bertie, and they wanted me to go up there. His friend Ralphie Marino and a few other guys wanted me to go up there and sing a song with this Italian band, but they also played American music too. So I go up there and I imitated Elvis, which I was good because I did it in Vegas also at the Copacabana, so on and so forth, the Omni Theater, all over, Pete and Lenny's in Miami. So when I went up there and sang, you want to see the power of a guy like that, because when I got done with one song, Frank, well, Funzy, we call Funzuolo, but Funzy, they called him. Frank Thierry, he's staying on the side, in the front, on the floor. I'm up on the stage. He's to the right of me on the floor, to the far right. And when I got done singing, like nobody clapped yet. He had to make the sign of approval with his head. He went like this. He went just like this. And they all went, yay! It was like to show you the power this guy had. And then I noticed Ralphie gave him enough money to choke 10 horses. And they wanted me to do card tricks. That's another thing. I had to do card tricks for them that night. So I'm doing the tricks, and I'm very good at card tricks. I'm a sleight of hand artist. If anybody goes on YouTube and just puts my name, James Dimodica, card magic, it'll pop up. It's an 11-minute video, and then you'll get to see my dexterity, my prowess I have with my hands. You'll see it. Anyway, so they wanted me to do tricks for Funzy. So I'm 21 at the time. But I'm doing trick, and I'm really like blowing. I'm on my A game at this point because I didn't want to make a mistake. So I did everything. So he looks at me and he says to me, and he's whispering, he goes, "I want you to teach me how to do that so I can rob everybody." He was so funny when he said that. So he could rob everybody. Let me tell you something. A lot of wise guys say the funniest things, but that's just one boss I was with. Naturally, I was in the company of JG with John Gotti. I was into this company. We were at Jilly's that night with Sinatra. That's natural. Number two, then Carmine Persico, the boss of the Colombos. His son, Ali Boy, was very close with me. My father was a cellmate of Carmine Persico for 6 years, from 1974 to 1980 in Atlanta, Georgia, federal prison. So I got to be close with Alley Boy, and then Alley Boy, when my father came home, Carmine, when we call him Junior, Carmine Persico Jr., but you just say Junior. So when Junior came home, he wanted to see my father because my father had just come home. I think it was like a year or two after Junior came home. My father came home in 1980. So I had to bring him to Alley Boy's house on Kell. It was Kell, Kell, Kell Avenue in Staten Island. So I go see him. I bring my father there, and he's just sitting there. But he walked funny. You know, he had a funny walk, like the side of his body. He favored the side of his body because when he was at war with the Gallo brothers, Larry and Crazy Joey Gallo, they tried to blow him up in his car, but he survived. But it maimed his half of his body at the time. Now I know since then. The reason why I'm saying this, I'm not talking out of school, listeners, is because Carmine Persico Jr. He passed away also. And then his second in command was Andrew Russo, who I did 7 years in jail with along with my father. Andrew was the underboss. Andrew loved my card tricks. Forget about it. He dabbled in card tricks too. Like he had the certain moves he would do. But when he saw me, he says, Jimmy, teach me that thing where you make the aces turn into kings and then back to aces again in the snap of a finger. So I'm showing him how to do it. He goes, nah, I can't do that. I can't do that move. I can't do that move. But Andrew was also talented as far as an artist going, a painter. He knew how to paint portraits of movie stars when we were away in Otisville, upstate New York. Andrew was very, very talented. His son Jojo had cancer. He was locked up doing a long bid. His son wound up passing away while Andrew was away, which was sad. The day that Andrew was released, my father and I walked Andrew to the door to say goodbye to him. He was close with us. Nicky Scarfo, again, it was down in his office, in his building there. It was like street levels. It's Scarf Inc. Got construction. That's when I asked him about the picture that he had behind him. It was an empty professional baseball stadium, and you see all the bases that are in there, and the four diamond, the diamond. And when I asked him, I says, "Well, Nick, why do you have that picture?" I thought maybe he did the work, for the stadium, that he built it. He said, "I'm glad you asked me that." He says, "I keep that picture to remind my man to always touch base with me." That means put everything on record with him before any score is made, so it's clear he gets his end. So there was with Jerry Lang. I also met. He took over for Carmine Persico Jr. for a while. But there's a lot of guys that I've met and lucky enough to meet because of the magic of my father.
Yeah, absolutely. Jimmy, if you don't mind, I'm going to just take I don't usually drink coffee at night. Tonight, I'm in the mood for a cup of coffee.
Go right ahead. Well, for the viewers don't know that he's doing tribute to another host.
Yeah,
And,
right.
Well, that was a good invitation, Craig. Very good. Very good.
Very good. No, I hope I got everybody's approval. I'm seeing questions roll in, but before we get to questions, I just want to remind everybody now, you could ask whatever you want. I will get to them. If I feel that it's kind of like a mockery or they're disrespectful in any way, I won't ask them. But from what I see, no problem.
Well, I can usually handle
so
I can handle anything, Greg. You know that.
But this isn't a mockery channel or show, whatever you want to call it. So if that's the idea, just go down a block. There's a much better fight for you somewhere else. Honestly, that's not no tough guy shit. That's just man shit. That's just the way it is. So the same way, maybe you wouldn't go to somebody else's show and stir the pot. Don't do it here. That being said, Jimmy, let's get into the next question before we go to Q&A. This is something that's been on my mind.
Yes.
This is something that's been on my mind because I dabbled in it a little bit and never, just never really clicked too good with it. That's one. I'm honest. Never really worked. Back in the day, not so long ago, but it was long ago. Credit cards was a big scam. A lot of different things you could do with credit cards, and it still goes on today with identity and stuff. But it was different back then. Were there any good scams, or a secret, or not a secret? Like, was there anything in particular you were really good with credit
No,
cards?
you just rang a bell for me. When the credit cards came out, I had a guy who had the machine that could actually make and emboss the card. He would get the information from a kid that, let's say, worked in another, like say in a restaurant. When the card would be swiped, there was another thing next to the machine that would copy all the information on the swipe. That's one way that you can gain information. But there's also another way. If everybody is familiar with your VCR player, I'm sure, I don't know if you still have one, Craig, the VHS tapes.
Yeah, of course.
You still have them?
I put away. I don't know if they're working, but
No, don't get rid of it. It's valuable. Here's why.
Okay.
Here's why the VHS tape player is very valuable. All you do is unscrew the Phillips head screws, 1, 2, 3, 4 underneath, and you remove the shell, the whole metal shell of the VHS recorder. Inside, you will see 2, 1, and 2. They're right next to each other. There's 2 round silver discs. Those are the heads. It's called the heads. That's where the tape goes around. All you have to do, let's say if you were to intercept a card in the mail and somebody just got it, let's say they have to activate it, but yet you grab the card by mistake or whatever, there's a way to get all the information off of it. All you do is just bend the card, because on the back of the tape, on the back of the card, the back of the card is a black strip. That's videotape. All you do is just bend it and put it around that round head, that silver head, hit the play button, and then you'll see on your TV, it gives you all the name, the address, the PIN number, date of birth, all the stuff you need. It'll be right there like magic.
Really?
Like, this is Criminal 101 class. Now, is everybody in attendance and listening? Take your notes, please.
There's a lesson to be learned in everything. There is a lesson to be
Let me
learned.
tell you, I don't care what it is. Man will always find a way to conquer it. There's always a way to beat something. Remember this, people out there. Listen to my words. There's always a right way to do a wrong thing.
Whoa.
And that's what I'm good at.
Well said. And so true. Well, it's that time. If we have a question coming from somebody you know very well.
Oh, really?
Well, actually, I'm going to read this one first before I speak on it. Absolutely. TT, how are you? All right, we're going to start to get to some questions now. I just wanted to read that, Barbara. That's a great analogy, Barbara. So if questions don't get answered tonight, they always get answered. But I want to start off with a question that was given to me actually earlier in the evening, in case we wind up going to Q&A at the end of the night, which we didn't discuss if we would or we wouldn't. We said, if we'll see how it goes. And here we are. And the question had to do with the actor Tony Sirico. And Roy, our friend from across the globe there, the pond, wanted to
Okay.
know. Yeah, Roy wanted to know, Jimmy, have you ever had any dealings or met or spoke with in any way Mr. Tony Sirico? As we know, in real life, Tony had gotten in trouble and was around a lot of Colombo guys in real life. He's now passed on. Have you ever met Tony or anything like that? That's coming from Roy.
To your answer your question, Roy, the answer is yes. I met him when I had to see Frankie Vincent one night. It was in Montclair, New Jersey, on Bloomfield Avenue. There was a place that would do small vignettes of plays, like not a full production of a Broadway play or nothing, but something that's being worked on, let's say in workshop, or that actors work on to fine tune it. Let's say we had to meet there. Actually, I had to meet Frankie Vincent there, who was Joe Pesci. He was always in the movies with Joe Pesci. So that night he was there with Tony Sirico and Paul Sorvino. So when I got there kind of late. So he says, "Well, Jimmy," he says, they already did the vignette. There was only three guys. A guy named Joe Silver. If you ever see him, he has a kind of a bulby nose. He's been in like he's a character actor. He's been on Gunsmoke and all kind of shows for years and years. Anyway, he was there that night doing this small little two-act play that they went there to see him for some reason, which I don't know. But anyway, I wind up going with them to eat. And we wind up going to the Belmont, as a matter of fact, the Belmont Tavern, which is in Belleville, but it's on the borderline between Newark and Bloomfield, but in Belleville. It's in a weird spot. And Tony, I got to talk to Tony because he was away like I was away. He was good. He was a good. He did stick ups. He told me, and I think he went away. I think it was they robbed something. They robbed a bank or did something. I forget exactly what his charge was. But in answer, Roy, to your question, Mr. Mudson, yes, Tony Sirico, I did meet him. I wound up entertaining them that night. I did all kind of card tricks for them. They loved it. And Paul Sorvino loved it too, because when they filmed the movie Casino with Joe Pesci, Frankie Vincent was in it, De Niro was in it, and what's her name? The blonde. What was her name, Craig? The blonde, the girl that starred.
Oh yeah. Man, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Anyway, she was there too. Anyway, we went there, and I went there. This was in Vegas. So during the filming of it, during the filming of it, they did the scene. This was the scene where Joe Pesci comes into the casino, and he's not supposed to be in there. And Don Rickles calls up De Niro, who's supposed to be the casino boss, and he's supposed to be Sam Rothstein that he's calling. And he says, "Sam," he says, "the little guy is here." He goes, he lost all kind of money. He's stuck, and now he wants the $50,000 marker. He says, no. He says, just give him 10. Just give him 10 to get even, and that's it. And he hangs up the phone and he runs down there. But that scene, and every time he's getting dealt a bad hand, the dealer was the chubby dealer that was also in Rain Man, the scene where Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise are playing blackjack. It's the same dealer. So during the filming of it, Joe Pesci and Frankie Vincent said when they had a cut to change lenses on the camera, Pesci and Frankie Vincent said, he goes, "Jimmy, why don't you show them what a real card man does?" And that's when I grabbed the deck right on the table, the same table, and I'm doing it. And Scorsese was there. De Niro came over, and I blew them all away. They loved it. So Joey said to me, he says, "Gee," he says, "I could have made you a technical advisor for the gambling." He said, "But you got here too late." So he says, "Nah." He goes, "Nah, you jerk off." He goes like that. Joey was a clown. Joey was funny. He had a twinkle in his eye, but he's funny. He's always funny. Always he gets you going. He's what we call in Italian. He's a scutch.
It's good. Yeah, I haven't heard that word in a long time.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah. My grandmother used to say "sfacchin." Sfacchin.
Yeah, Sfacchin. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's go. This question comes from Don Lucchese. Don, first of all, are you still in the house? If you're in the house, I'll ask the questions. If you're not in the house, I won't ask the questions. So I'll give you a few seconds to respond if you're still in the house or you just came. If you're still here, I'll be more than happy to have these questions answered or at least asked. Give this gentleman a second. It looks like
I saw the question from Dom.
yeah, but you know what? You want to answer it, but I don't think he's here anymore.
No, imitation is the highest form of flattery. That was your way of flattering our friend. That's all.
Yeah. Only because there was some comments left last week that were not appreciated by our chat crew, and that's why he got the response he just got right now. And we're not going to even waste time on that. But a good friend is here of yours, Mr. Larry Rolla. Larry, how are you? Good to see you popping in.
Hey, Larry.
Jimmy, say hello to Mom and Pop for him. He wants you to say hello.
Oh, I will. Thank you, Larry.
Larry, I hope all is well on your side, my friend. It's good to see you live, up and running. That's good, my man. I got to pop in one of your lives and break chops and make sure you're up to the task and doing what you got to do. And I will do that.
That's
Dom is here. Okay, good.
I love Larry. Larry's my buddy.
Dom, let's get off on the right page. Maybe last week we got off on the wrong page. No sense to go back in nonsense. Let's get those questions answered. You asked one of the questions that I'm going to ask. As far as mocking anybody, I'm too old to mock anybody. Right?
No, that was tribute, Dom. That was a tribute. Whenever you imitate somebody, that's the highest form of flattery.
Absolutely. All right,
yes.
So let's get to your question. Jimmy, is there any truth to the rumor that at one time the Colombos would have liked to have your dad transferred to them rather than stay where he was with the Gambinos? Do you know anything about that?
That's a hard question, because anytime my dad was always ready for whenever the books were open, he was always locked up. Don't forget, he was 61 years old when the time came. When the time came to enter, that when he knocked on the door, when they let him inside the door, he was 61. That's unheard of for a guy to be 61. Only because of the respect they had for him and the reputation that he had was unparalleled. And Dad was you're never going to see another guy like him, because he's really special. Not just because he's my dad, but like I said, the years that he did 9 years when I was 2 till I was 12. Came home, was home for 5 years. He went away 6 years in Atlanta, Georgia. Came home for 2 years, did 8 years in Leesburg prison, state prison, Leesburg, New Jersey, where he was with Joey Merlino. Came home for another 4 or 5 years and then did 17. He did 17 in Otisville. And for the last 7 of those years, I did it with him in the same cell. I was in the top bunk, he was in the bottom bunk. And that's something that I would do again in a heartbeat. To have that camaraderie and all the years I miss my dad, that's something that can't be something I can't get back. So I would definitely go to jail again and be with him. Jail doesn't bother me.
Nick says, like father, like son. And you know how I feel about Nicky. Nicky's one of our people, 1,000,000%.
Very good.
There's so many. Let me try to get to some good stuff here. We got something that you need to hear. You know, thank you for these kind words. You know, this is, if, you know, we're taking it at face value, here's what it is. If it wasn't for Craig and Larry, we would have lost a gem in Jimmy. Remain unknown of a mountain of knowledge and mind-blowing stories. Jimmy Dimodica, love from India. You've touched this part of the world too. If we're taking that at face value, thank you very much. Means the world to Jimmy, I'm sure. Means the world to me and Mr. Larry Roller as well. As we take that at face value.
I really appreciate that very much coming from India. And just to say a word or two in Indian, when I'm doing good with money and I have money, and let's say you're with me, I'm no cup tea. I'm no cup tea. I go in my pocket. I will spend it, and then I will spoil you people rotten. If you ever come out this way, you'll be treated like like king and queen. Don't worry, I'm no cup tea. That means cheap.
That was a very nice comment, Wolverine. I got another one from TT Rad, Jimmy. TT Rad is a special person. We don't have TT Rad in here all the time, but it's great to see you, TT. Hope all is well. Pray all is well, not hope. TT Rad says, Jimmy, Joe Gard's daughter celebrated 43 years of marriage this month. Obviously, wow. You must know Joe Gard.
Yeah, well, that's Renee. That's Joe Gard's daughter, Renee.
Got you. 43 years of marriage.
I grew up with Renee. Renee and I, we would hang out. We learned everything in life, like for being in number. It was a grammar school, number 4 grammar school, right on Magnolia Street. But we all would hang there because she lived on Magnolia Street, Renee, and so did I. And my uncles lived there. My grandparents lived on Magnolia Street. My uncle Joe, my father's brother, lived at 73. My grandparents were at 87. My other uncle, my father's other brother, lived at 89. So Renee and Joe Gard, they were all part. See, people don't know that. See, Bobby Cabert had a lot of friends that were very loyal to him, and they were very close. Joe Gard was one of them.
Really?
Joe Gardabascio was a very close friend of Bobby Cabert. And he would do things for Joe Gard that he would do for nobody else. That's how close they were together. But he was also very close to my dad. And being that way for my dad, because my father is the one that brought Cabert on his first score when they were young. They were kids, you know, and young teens. Whenever you flash that picture of them, both of them, they're young. My father was the one that brought him, that made him enter the world of crime and craziness.
Absolutely. That's when crime, I don't want to say that, I almost said that's when crime paid, but forget that, bad analogy. TT Rat is saying, I believe about Joe Gard, I believe, or she might be saying Cabert. TT Rat, if I get this wrong, please try to understand, I'm trying to follow along. He was my uncle, Magnolia Street. She lived on the second floor of Joe's house. So maybe if Cabert was her uncle, not Joe. The way she said Joe's house, maybe, I don't know if it's Uncle Joe. Oh, I know Bobby. He was always over the house. So I guess Uncle Joe, that was her uncle, Joe Gard. Gathering.
All right then. Well then,
yeah. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, well, we would, a lot of times we would say either Cabert or Bobby. We would call him that. Like a lot of times they always mispronounce his name. It's Bisaccia. It's Bisaccia. That's how you spell his name. Robert Bisaccia. But like his son Alex was a very good kid. Alex never got in trouble, was weird. Joe Gard's daughter, my father was godfather to her when his first wife, Marie, she passed away about a couple of years ago, his first wife. No, that was Marie. I'm thinking Oh my goodness! I don't want to mess up the names.
No, that's all
But
right.
Marie was the second. Marie was the second wife. Don't worry, I'll figure it out. Don't worry.
TT Rad also wants you to know that she was in Renee's wedding party, I gather. So she was.
Oh,
She
okay.
had both. Yeah,
Okay.
very. That's a small world, TT. That's a small world.
Yeah, when I was like 9 years old. Renee was my first crush.
Oh, really? All right. Now
Yeah.
that that's out of the bag. Uh-oh. Lana, how are you? Let's try to get to the next question. Dom, I saw you asked. I'm going to go through some. I'm going to just keep scrolling. I'm looking for questions.
Greg.
Yes.
Bobby Cabert's first wife's name was Kate. Kate.
Gotcha.
That's it. It was Kate. Marie was the last one that he had when he passed away.
Gotcha. And I just want to clear this up.
And his sister was Arlene. His sister is Arlene.
I know you have a memory like, what do they say, an elephant? They don't forget anything. You don't forget anything. I did just to clear this up. I don't know where this is coming from. Like that, I would, like you said, flattery is the best form of to honor someone. Basically, I had a great conversation with Tommy Stiggs on the phone last week. It was a great conversation amongst two people. That conversation will remain between me and him. Me and Tommy have no issues at all. I'm always here for him. He's always there for me. I don't know anything else. That's all. Next. I just wanted to clear that up.
Okay.
I just want to see. There was a couple of questions I want to try to find that were in here. We asked that one question about
Craig, I also apologize. This darn, I still have, now it's tree season. I have my allergies, my sinus infection. So don't mind me, everybody, when I just have to put my nose here. I have to just touch it a little bit.
Do what you have to do. You get a pass. All right. Larry called in. He said you're going to get a pass for the night. All right. So you can do whatever you want. Larry gave the okay. You got a pass. All right.
Okay.
All right. So
thank you, Larry.
This is a question I'm going to ask it. I don't know if you met the man, you had any dealings with him at all. I'm sure you've heard of Wild Bill Catolo back in the day. Brooklyn guy.
I had nothing. No, Wild Bill. He was killed. No, I had nothing to do with Wild Bill.
Just wanted to know. Did you have any feelings either way about Wild Bill? So if you had no dealings with him, you never met him. So that takes care of that question. Here's a very I don't know about controversial. I don't know what here it is. Again, Mr. Dom Lucchese says, Craig, what are my thoughts on Marlino's statement? Let me be clear right now and tell you I have no clue what statements he's made. Zero. So I have no problem with answering any question. Not aware of any statements. Anybody that pretty much knows me, I really don't watch too much, believe it or not. It might seem hard to believe, but when I'm on YouTube, I'm watching, unless it pops up in front of me, I don't go out of my way to watch anybody's stuff. I don't. I subscribe to a lot of football stuff, MMA stuff. I can't say I've never seen the Skinny podcast. I have, but what I'm saying is I don't know nothing about any statement or made. Are you aware?
What are they specifically asking?
I don't know. If Tom wants to tell me what the statements are, I'd be more than happy to give my thoughts on them. I mean, if that means anything, sure. I just don't know what they are. In the meantime, we'll move on and try to find the next question for you. I tell you, TT Rad has a lot. Craig and Jimmy, my best friend Teresa loves the show. She's a Newark girl. That's great to hear. Anybody that likes the show, loves the show, that's even better. We like to hear that. That means I need Jimmy more than Friday nights. I need him at least a few nights a week so we can get more people who love the show more. Hey, listen, honestly, it's just two guys having a conversation and letting everybody in on the conversation. And let's be frank, not everybody that's been in Jimmy's position is willing to open up and keep it 100% real the way he keeps it. And I believe that. And anything we do in life, let's keep it real. And he does that to the fullest. And it's not often you see that. And that's why I think it works for us and our crew. And that's fine. But thank you very much. And tell Teresa, thank you for loving our show. Keep on loving it. And we'll keep trying to produce good content and make everybody happy. That's our goal, to give you the best content we possibly can. Jimmy, anything you want to add to that? I'm searching for questions.
When the person said she's a Newark girl, it reminded me I was in Vegas at one time, and Rodney Dangerfield sat down at the blackjack table with me. Rodney Dangerfield's very funny with them one-liners, and these two girls happened to sit down in first and second base seat, and it was me and Rodney. And the girls sat down. They were all like bubbly and everything, and they said, "Oh, hi, Mr. Dangerfield. How are you?" He goes, "Oh, yeah. How are you, girls? Yeah, I'll tell you. He goes like that. And he says, "Well, where are you girls from?" She said, "Oh, Newark, New Jersey." He goes, "Oh, it's nice to be sitting next to class."
Typical Rodney. Typical Rodney. I got another one.
Yes.
We got another one from Miss TT Rad. She says, "Jimmy," and I know this is going to be a yes, but it goes a little further. "Do you remember Sonny and Buddy Muss?" I've heard you talk about them, but she says, "I practically grew up in Sonny's house on Frederick Street." Does that ring a bell? Do they ring a bell?
First of all, he lived at 22 Frederick Street. That's the address.
All right, okay. TT, here we go.
Because I've been in that house many times. Buddy raised me for all the years my father was in jail, from when I was away from 2 years old to 12. All the years in grammar school, Buddy Muss raised me. There was a place called Channel Lumber. It was on Franklin Street when you go into Newark, near Mr. Foamy's car wash. Buddy tried to stick him up one time, and they wound up shooting him. They shot him in the back, so he was laid up a while. But I was a kid, and I always wanted to have instruments, to have a band. As a kid, I was 8 years old. So I always knew that Buddy had all these instruments because it always said from the Newark Board of Education. So we had a trombone, a drum set, but we had to get my mother had to get a file to scratch off all the names on it. So nobody would get in trouble where they were from. And I remember in grammar school, there was a teacher that came around and said they wanted to teach you, how to play instruments. So I had the trombone, even though I didn't know how to play it. I wanted to learn. When that guy saw the trombone, the teacher, he asked me more questions about the trombone. Where'd you get the trombone? Where was it from? Because he saw it was all scratched away. But that was from Buddy. Let me tell you something about Sonny. Sonny and Buddy Muss were brothers. Sonny's real name is Patrick. Not too many people know that. Sonny he'll only utter a mere few words. He's passed away also, just as Buddy is. Buddy was the last guy to be straightened out on our side. Mm-hmm. He was the last one. I think it was around 2002, somewhere around there. Buddy passed away. But Sonny, let me tell you, Buddy and Sonny did a lot of work. Woof. Like Greg, I'm serious. They're really like treacherous. Like, mm-hmm. And then down in behind Frederick Street, underground, they have an arsenal place that's all hidden. I don't know if it's still there now because everybody's gone. But if you ask your friend, I'm telling you, it's number 22, Frederick Street. And did she type in to say I was correct, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Sonny, again, Sonny and Buddy practically raised me. I would call him Uncle Buddy. I say, Uncle Buddy. So when I was going to karate school, I'm trying to learn a move. I said, here. I said, get me in a headlock. And as I moved, my head went, boom. I hit the gun butt. He had his gun in his waistband. I almost got knocked out. But Buddy would talk like this. He'd say, well, what? Where's my money now? Where's my money now? What? Oh, we grabbed this one kid that owed him. I put him in the trunk of the car. And the kid, when I popped the trunk open, he all got sick on himself and everything. And all Buddy said was, where's my money now? Where is it? Oh, that's all he would say. Sonny would barely speak. But one time at Aggie's club, there was a problem. Buddy used to drink a lot and get really out of hand. But he would drink for one time I tried to keep up with him. This was at a place called Babes in Newark on 6th Street. We started drinking that night, and I'm drinking with Buddy, and I'm drinking screwdrivers. What?
No, I'm saying TT Rat is letting us know that her friend Teresa love the show. Is here.
I'm drinking screwdrivers, right? And Buddy keeps knocking his down, beers. So we drank it to the next afternoon. I remember I saw stars. I couldn't even function. I drove my car over the railroad tracks on Franklin Street where Stefanelli's Tavern was. And I remember I got out of the car and I just started walking around, looking around, like I don't know where, like I don't even know where I was. And Buddy, he was still there drinking. Oh man. So one time he got drunk, Buddy. And he was at Aggie's club. It was called Aggie's. It was called on 6th Street, right over the little trestle of the bridge. The Burger King is there now. And what happened was the bouncer of that place, because Buddy was harassing he was drunk. So he was like, convincing one of the patrons there. So the kid that worked there didn't know who Buddy was. He sucker punches Buddy. And he hits him in the nose, and Buddy's nose started bleeding. With that, he came back with Sonny. And when he came back with Sonny, forget about it. They came there, and then Sonny grabbed him in a bear hug, the kid. So Buddy grabs the knife in the back kitchen off the thing, a boning knife. There was a customer that came in. He goes, excuse me, what's going on here? Buddy just went wham. He just stabbed the guy right in the cheek. Right through his cheek. The kid, when he saw that, he wiggled out of Sonny's grip, ran across the street.
Sounds like it.
These are my friends. This is my neighborhood.
It definitely sounds like a no-nonsense kind of guy, if you get my drift.
Oh, man.
You and TT Rad seem to have a great chemistry. I know the hunger pains are kicking in. I got to ask this one last one from TT Rad. You've built TT. I'm so glad you came in tonight. By the way, Teresa, thank you for coming in. Thank you for loving the show. You're gonna love more. I'm telling you. We're gonna. This is natural. This is not an act, non-scripted. We're just gonna roll. We're gonna have great things coming. Jimmy's here for the long run. But this question again, TT Rad wants to know, Jimmy. I mean, everybody's got to be, you just, everything she's asked, you're in tune with lock and step. Jimmy, do you remember the club across the street from St. Anthony's?
Yes, that was Cheek Corsi's place.
Do you mind telling us, our lowly New Yorker guys about this club? Can you tell me a little bit?
Well, maybe his real name was Frank Corsi, but they say Uciccio, Udonciccio. Cheech is like they say in Italian for Frank.
A lot of Franks got Cheech, yeah.
Yeah, Cheech Corsi, his name was. He was Cabert's boss before Cabert took over the family, the Jersey side of the Gambinos. Gotcha. So that was Cheek's club, and then he had it. This was like in the late '60s. Then it became Cabert's club. Then it was Cabert's club. Cabert took it over, And it was a social club, basically, with a pool table. They had a back card room, a bar, stuff like that. But first it was Cheap Corsi's, then Cabert took it over the club. Is that right, TT?
TT, does that add up? TT, does that add up to you? What Jimmy just said? But Duke Lopez, our friend Jimmy Duke says, Jimmy, did you know a guy from Newark named Mike Vigiano?
The name sounds familiar, but a lot of times if I see his picture, I'll know it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's tough to.
Gotcha.
Don't forget, there's so many guys, and then there's so many guys with so many guys.
Absolutely, absolutely. By the way, TT Raz says correct with St. Anthony's, 1,000,000%, 100% across the board. And it's hard to finish up on a stronger note than that. He said Mike had something to do with the Carpenters Union back when. That's coming from Duke. So I just thought I'd pass it on.
Freddie Farina ran the carpet. It was 1342 because I ran local. I run the laborers local 342, but 1342 was Freddie Farina's local, and that was the carpenters and mill workers. But they were in Bloomfield, where his office was.
All right.
But Freddie wound up dying. He wound up being one night, and he ran into a tree, and then he severed an artery, his main artery in his heart, his aorta or something. But we had everything locked down. I ran the laborers, and then the iron workers was Billy Mullen. Oh, forget it. But we had everything locked up. Forget it.
All right. Well, James, this brings us to the end of another, what I feel to be a very educational program, and I hope our community and friends enjoyed tonight. I hope you were able to answer whatever questions we got out there. Again, I am not aware of Joey Molino's statements. If you can have them for next week, I'll be more than happy, or during the week, I'll be more than happy to give my opinion on it if it's that important. No problem. Larry, thank you very much for feeling this was a great show. Thank you. Always. Duke says, Bloomfield, that's correct. Mike always drove the black Cadillac. He's saying you're correct. He's just co-signing everything you said.
He was probably with Bobby Druther and what's his name? John Clark. John Clark was also the main guys that worked there.
Gotcha. I love it. Thank you, Jimmy. I'm gonna in closing, thank you for everything. Thank you on behalf of the chat, because it takes a lot for them to type in. I know they're grateful that you're here. You know I am. To love having you here. You're a big part of this, and you have a beautiful weekend, you and Miss Barbara. And thank you for everything tonight. Thanks for the laughs. I always love the laughs. And thank you for just being a friend, my man. Thank you.
Thank you for being you, Craig. You're my buddy. You're my brother.
Thank you.
And I love you. Thank you.
Love you too, everybody that feels the same, you will.
Everybody take care. Next week we'll have even more stories and more laughs and more thrills. Don't worry.
Good night, brother. And always remember, high flying, limousine riding, jet stopping.
Right. And I got more moves than a bowl of Jello.
There you go. All right, my brother. Good night, pal. All right, let's just fix this. We'll go to a layout. And see if we get us in here. And there we go. I hope everybody enjoyed the show this evening. The content. Duke, you have a great weekend. I want everybody to have a great weekend. Be safe. I hope we were able to get some of these questions answered. TT, awesome to have you here. Everybody that comes in, it's always a pleasure to have you here. Duke, Sal, Roy, Terry, Joe Town Jack, pleasure, my brother. Sorry we didn't have you Monday night. Joe Town, I've been trying to answer you on a comment. You know I always get back to you. It's giving me a hard time answering some of the comments on the fight for Monday night. Tyson Douglas. Monday night we'll have Johnny Farinacci doing the play-by-play with me. We did an interview with Johnny. Johnny will be on the fight desk with me. We'll come up with a good fight. If anybody has any ideas, email me, whatever, put it in the comments, and that's the fight we'll do. Roy, TT Rad, Benny, Sal, Nick always, Duke always, TT Rad, Baywatcher, Mr. Larry Roller, thank you for your time tonight, my brother. Don Lucchese, thank you for the questions. Now that's all cleared up, we move on. OG Ruby, I'll be up in the BX this weekend. Ruby, me and Timmy Irish. Timmy Irish is down to, I keep cutting it, and he's only got 5 days left, but he's got more like 70-something days before he comes back. Wolverine, Marta, Barbara Turner, Big Nick, always so nice to name it twice. Joe Town Jack, William Brooklyn, Roy again, OG Ruby again. I don't care if I say it 3 times. I want to get it right. Terry. And I want to make sure Benny, Davey T from Boston had a run. Thank you, Matty Boy. Thank you for coming in. Everybody. Stevie Marinello, always brother. Baywatcher, my man, you know it. And I mean, you know, if I Emil Cola, my man. If I miss anybody, I don't do it on purpose. I hope you know that. I try to get everybody's name because we appreciate every last one. Duke, of course. With that being said, everybody have an awesome weekend. I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. Teresa, woo! I would have forgot that. Teresa, thank you for coming in. And please keep coming back. Please keep coming back. Baywatcher, 100 all the time. I don't know any other way. We 100 all the time, every day of the week, sometimes twice on Sunday. Right? Peace, love. Take care of your families and loved ones. And let's just do what we do best. Be now.